Alrighty, hi, I'm Jaco Wardy from eLearnIT, and I'm here today with John Strano, Technical Evangelist from Sybase PowerBuilder. Good morning, John.
How are you, Yakov?
Alrighty, John, it's always great to be together with you. John and I have known each other for, well, how many years is that now?
Well, they could just count the gray hairs on our collective heads to be able to figure that out. But I would say, 15 plus years now that you and I have known each other.
Yes.
Is that possible?
It is possible. I can even remember where we first met. It was at the Burlington Marriott.
Was it? That's right, just north. I love the Burlington Marriott. That was a real nice staging area when I was doing education.
That was the Sybase dormitory. Yeah. Yes, sir. Okay, so anyway, I'm here today to talk with John about some of the new and exciting things that are going on in the PowerBuilder world.
And they are exciting.
And they are. But first, John, can you tell us, how did you start with Sybase, and how did you get to where you are today?
Well, I'll tell you, back in 1990, I lost my bookkeeping job, which was my day job. My wife and I were attempting entry into the theater community at the time, and I just didn't want to go into another hand-to-mouth bookkeeping job. And my friend Bob turned to me and said, "John, how come you're not making any money?" And I said, he knew I had interest in computer. And I said, "I don't know, Bob, why?" He had heard of this software that was just coming out of beta called PowerBuilder. And he said, "I want you to go to this office after hours on Wednesday night," I think it was. And there it was. That's how it started. Bless him, Bob gave me 5 or so jumpstart sessions, 2 hours each in his apartment while his wife and child were playing off on the side. And that was it. That was my entree into it. And year or so after that, 2 years after that, Coleman Sisson wanted to form this collective group. PowerBuilder 3 took off unexpectedly, even for those folks. It was so successful that tech support phones were ringing off the hook, and there were long hold times, and Coleman was looking for a solution. So he actually invited some folks who've been active on CompuServe's PC Vendee forum, and people who had been answering and asking a lot of questions, but more to the point, giving somewhat quality answers, ended up being Team PowerSoft. And everything has really just been a domino effect for me from that point on. So I've been a member of Team PowerSoft since February of '93.
So if I can interject, you developed pretty deep technical skills at that point, being able to answer all the different types of nuanced questions that came in over the telephone. Is that correct?
Well, that's very kind of you to assume that, but I'll tell you, back in those days, we were all very expert in very specific slices of the functionality. Mm-hmm. At that point, I had been trial by fire with printing and PowerBuilder back there in 10B and 2.0 days, and I had become quite expert as a result. Like somebody who has had a gallbladder operation, they know almost as much as their doctor knows about gallbladders, just because that's been their experience. So that really was my entree, and along the way I accumulated more and more slices of the functionality.
Got it. Well, I as a member of the community, witness now that you have the full pie. So I'm going to...
very kind of you to say so, but the eternal student, right?
Yeah. Well, we all are, because that's the nature of the computer software development industry. We are continually learning. And in fact, these days we're learning about .NET. And I know that you and our colleague Dave Fish have been trotting the globe to help the PowerBuilder community become more aware of and begin ramping up to the .NET experience. Can you tell us about some of the more exciting places you've met and what the PowerBuilder community is like in those places?
Well, I'll tell you, probably the most well-attended seminars that Dave and I have presented over the last 3 or so years as we've been going through our .NET integration initiative was India. We spent 5 cities in 5 days, and those were 120%. We were in Bangalore, and we had don't tell the fire marshal I said this, but we had expected 45 folks for this 90-seat room, and 120 or so showed up on this rainy evening. And I loved it. But if you do go to New Delhi Airport, that's where you most need your yellow fever shot. That's where you have to stand in line, and I say line, and being kind to the queue there, and you're at the mercy of the mosquitoes that are there in that airport. That was the most interesting and demanding place that I've been, in addition to West Des Moines, Iowa, all the way to Bangkok.
So what you're saying to me is that you're finding that there's enthusiasm among the PowerBuilder developer community, and especially in some of the areas that are a little more challenging to reach, for authoritative information about the new PowerBuilder product. Is that right?
Well, when they see what they can do with PowerBuilder 12 to compete, cosmetically, there's no holds barred that these folks can compete cosmetically on the desktop now with any .NET developer, no matter what tool they use, but also what the additional functionality is available. It's almost overwhelming how many options they now have.
Knowing that WPF is such a big framework, and knowing that we're coming really from the comfy, cushy WinForm environment of PowerBuilder, what do you think it's going to take a PowerBuilder developer to become fluent and deadly effective or reasonably effective in designing a WP and laying out the WPF user interface?
Well, I think the key word that you used is the key indeed, is fluency. And you develop fluency through familiarity. It really is almost going to be, my favorite restaurant in New York City is La Calidad. Their menu, it's a Chinese Cuban fusion restaurant. There's almost too many choices on that menu to be helpful. I think that's what WPF's segment of the .NET framework is like, is that you just need to go shopping, like a huge shopping mall, to misuse another metaphor. Is there are so many choices that you just need to start with what looks appealing to you after you go out to the Microsoft site, to the Sybase site, and to the other Code Exchange and Channel 9 sites to see what other people are doing. See what other people are doing and see what's appealing to you, knowing what you and your team need for your enterprise, for your applications.
Assuming that you have let's say a 10 or 15-year-old legacy application that's an enterprise scale application, what do you think the turnaround time is going to be that an organization should plan for when they begin to think about how long it will take them to migrate that full application till it's really solid in the .NET environment?
Well, it's the undesirable answer, is that it depends. No matter how large your enterprise is and or how similar in size it is to, say, company X that you've seen interviews with and that you've corresponded with, it's so idiosyncratic what you're going to need to do for your application. We have all been, frankly, almost spoiled, going from PowerBuilder 7 to 8 to 9 to 11.5, in that it's almost been a cakewalk, because there's been almost nothing to do to make that migration. Now that there is this translation, as I like to call it, rather than migration, to WPF, if you want to venture into that, is that it is very different as far as the advantages that you have. I almost look at it as if it's not really a negative task that you're going to have to go through as if it were a chore. I think the biggest challenge is going to be, okay, what do I take advantage of now that is in WPF that was not in Win32 or in WinForm?
Okay, thanks a lot, John. Cut? Well, John, how time flies. There's so many things to talk about, and I hope we'll have another opportunity to explore these issues in detail, because the community really needs to start getting an appreciation for what the road ahead of them might be as they begin to consider migrating their applications.
Well, I'd welcome that.
Yes, okay. I look forward to it, and thank you so much for your time.
You're very welcome.
As my good friend says, this time till next time, may all your buys be good buys.